Hospitality Meets is brought to you by RotaCloud, the simple workforce management software for hospitality teams. RotaCloud lets you create and share rotas, record attendance, and manage your team's annual leave, all in less time than it takes to make a brew. It can also make life easier for your staff, allowing them to check their rotas, request holiday, and even pick up extra shifts, all through the RotaCloud mobile app. Start your 30-day free trial today by visiting rotacloud.com/Phil and find out how much easier managing your team can be. Welcome to Hospitality Meets with me, Phil Street, where each week we take a light-hearted look into the stories and individuals that make up the wonderful world of hospitality. Today's guest is Ed Gallier, Head of Learning and Development at Leonardo Hotels UK and Ireland and 2025 Cateys Award winner. Coming up on today's show, Ed prepares us for the podcast.
We're going to be together for 6 hours. I'm going to get tireder. You're going to get drunker.
Phil calls an end to the show. Stop. And Ed reminisces over uniforms.
It was probably 100% nylon at the time, so, you were sending out radio signals every time you walked.
All that and so much more as we chat through Ed's magnificent story so far. If there's a nicer human being working within hospitality, I've yet to meet them, and Ed has stories by the bucket load. So please don't forget to hit that subscribe button and give us a like and a share wherever you can. Enjoy. And a huge Hospitality Meets welcome to, we can say this now, award-winning L&D guy, Ed Gallier. How are you?
Very good. Even happier to be doing this now. Yeah, I've got something to say.
Yeah, because you were really going to struggle with that beforehand.
Well, yeah, that would be an absolute lie. Anyone listening that knows us would say it started with a lie. So yeah. I'm good at talking. The listening I have worked on over the years. Yeah.
Very good. Yes. Well, I was going to actually say that people listening to this now should probably bed in because both of us are fairly partial to a conversation. So let's see what happens here.
Yeah, go on. We'll give it a go.
No, indeed.
Everyone's comfy.
Yeah, totally. I've already alluded to, let's just get this elephant out of the room straight away. I called you an award-winning L&D guy. Why? What happened this week, Mr. Gallier?
So this week it was the Cateys at the Grand Room at the Grosvenor House Hotel, and I'd been shortlisted for Education and Training Award, and I won. And it was a genuine surprise. I absolutely don't approach anything, that I'm going to win. I need a lot of convincing about that. And there was 3 of us on the shortlist. Well, actually 4, because one of the shortlisted was 2 people. And I took my manager and 2 of my colleagues. So there was 4 of us at the Cateys. And it was odd because any time we've applied for stuff, it's always the team, it's the L&D team or the HR team. So I'm really comfortable in a team. So the 4 of us were there, and every time they asked, are you all right? It was just making it worse because I was going, no, I'm really not all right. And I know they're going to make us eat a load of great food. And the food was amazing before they even get to the awards, So I was going, no, I'm really not good. And I was having to think about all those techniques about nerves that you use because I was just not in like a comfortable place with it. And it was just the expectation, the amazing setting. When I'm in London at events like that, I'm always bumping into people, that you probably only see at those events or you've seen on LinkedIn or you've chatted to them. But it's a really great time to say hello to people. And all that was great, but it didn't really help because I knew that I was in for this award. I don't know, maybe about 40 years old now, the Cateys. And I remember when I was at college on the printed Caterer and Hotel Keeper magazine, the shortlist, and then the week after the winners, the image of the Cateys. And it was definitely the pinnacle, as they say, the Oscars of hospitality. And it was definitely back then an award that the other people won. Like the professionals, anybody but me, really, coming from Oldham College. I wasn't really going to be up for a Catey. So it's the Education and Training Award, but I genuinely feel like I put a working lifetime into winning it. So it was amazing. So, yeah, genuine award winner.
You might have heard me a high-pitched squeal up the back of the room when they announced you as a winner. Never has there been a more deserving winner, I think, of that award. I know that you and I haven't actually known each other that long, but I've known about you for a very long time, and I know that you absolutely put your heart and soul into what you do. And so to see you kind of, as you said, I sent you a little note of congratulations the next morning, and you said, you sent one line back, because I can only imagine how busy you've been in the aftermath of that, which said, "That feels like my lifetime achievement award," and that says everything. It's just glorious.
Yeah, yeah, it is, and I don't know whether I'm odd or not. I'll quantify odd before everyone starts clapping. Yeah, he is. He really is odd.
Yeah,
I always
finally
knew.
he's realised.
It's like a tell-all podcast. I always knew the sector that I wanted to work in. So all the way back at school, I deliberately was doing, like GCSEs home ec, because I wanted to be a chef, and I did really well in that. I got an A, and then I knew I didn't want to do A levels. I could have done A levels. The school was slow on the uptake. I didn't do well on my mocks, and then I did great on my finals, and then they were chasing me around to stay on and do A levels, and I'd taken a place to do my BTEC and 7061, 7062 at Oldham College, and I really, really wanted to be a chef, and I wanted to work in hospitality, and I used to I think I annoyed friends because you'd go round for tea after school, and their parents would go, "So what do you want to do when you finish school?" And they were a bit unsure, and I had already a 10-minute spiel about what I was going to do.
Wow.
And you could see them just kicking me under the table, because it was just making their situation worse, because they were still unsure, and they were going, "Well, look, he knows, where are you in this?" So yeah, my background was hotel ops, and I still love hotels. I've done other things, but I still love hotels. I'm working out of a hotel today, so there's nothing better than working out at the bar, and the team will come up and give you some feedback, give you some suggestions. You can see the operation, so that it's a hotel, Katie. No offense to CIPD or any of the learning organisations I'm in. This is a special win, because it's the sector that I really love.
Yeah.
And at a certain point in my career, I made this turn into L&D, or training, as it was called. So I'm doing what I know I'm good at in the sector that I love. So it's a fab win. Yeah.
I mean, that's the dream, isn't it? Doing what you love in a
think it
sector
is.
you love.
Yeah, I think it is. It's not always easy, but yeah, dead happy, dead
Yeah.
pleased with myself. Yeah.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I think it's industry wide. You're a well known guy, and I think it would have been very well received across the industry that you got that. Not going to dwell on that for too long, just the hour. And no, we'll move on. You've actually already kind of taken us exactly where I wanted to go next, but we haven't clarified what it is that you actually do. I've called you an L&D guy, but what do you specifically do, and for whom?
Yeah, so I am head of learning and development. I head up a fab specialist team, part of human resources, with Leonardo Hotels for the UK and Ireland. So that's 57 hotels and growing, hopefully growing by another one this month in Edinburgh. About 5,500 employees, and myself and my team get involved with everything from the exec team right through to the hardworking guys that are at school and college and give us a few part-time hours, in the evening and at the weekend. So the scope's pretty broad, and that brings lots of challenges, from frontline craft skills, guest care, to CPD, continuous professional development, and probably the thing that we are, two things that I think we stand out on. It's a really great induction experience that everybody gets. So I say that's amazing and important, because everybody has to go through that induction. But then, as part of, I hope, why I won the Cateys was pipeline programs. So we have a really great structure of pipeline programs. And again, this is why I love hospitality. There's something for everyone. There is a genuine opportunity for everyone. And I'm lucky enough that I'm 13 years in the company, and this is 13 years returning. So I worked for myself for a little bit, and I did about 7 or 8 years initially. So there's now general managers in the organisation that started as a graduate or a student placement that have come through the process, and I am not claiming responsibility on my own for that. That's them putting a lot of hard work in, but they've worked for and stayed with an organisation that has supported them to get where they want to be. So they've got the drive, they've got the skills and the knowledge, but we've sort of honed that and made them that Leonardo general manager and hotel manager.
That's
So
brilliant.
at this stage, it feels great. Going to a senior leaders conference I don't know, great or old, you're going, oh, look at the, look
Two
at this
things
lot.
can be the same. It can be existing at the same time.
But yeah, it makes it really satisfying. It's it's a pleasure to be where I am. Yeah.
Yeah, and that comes across everything. But now what I want to do is go back all the way to the beginning. You kind of have already said that you knew very early on that your path was chosen for you, or you chose it, I should say. That's probably more accurate. But yeah, so at school you knew what to do. How did you then make that transition into industry, from school to industry?
So the natural path, the actual facility isn't there anymore, which is a real shame. There was a place, and it was relatively new back in 1989, the Barnwell training restaurant at Oldham College. So that's where I ended up, and it was a great skills-based learning environment. Really great production kitchens, a restaurant, a bar, reception, a little housekeeping unit, and it was really immersive into everything that was hospitality. And sometimes you go on a learning path and it's just not for you. But everything that was happening was really kept endorsing what I wanted to do, and we got great work placements. So from Oldham, it was going to the Big Smoke of Manchester, and there was at the time at Blackfriars a Ramada Renaissance hotel in a converted office block, and the power of induction. I still remember, I don't know how good the induction was, but it must have been reasonably good. I remember we went for our 2-week placement, you got an induction, and it was Ramada Renaissance. And I still remember being told Ramada is a shady resting place. And the Renaissance is like our new brand. So you're part of our new, luxury brand. Yeah, that hooked us. That hooked us. I had 2 placements, one there. I did everything from food and beverage and housekeeping, and then we did another one that used to call industrial catering, and I worked in the team canteen in the factory
Painful.
in Ashton, and it was all right. It was just so different, you're literally making massive brat pans full of food for all the team, but it was more regular hours, so I can always see the tussle in the industry, between levels of creativity, the hours that you want to work or you can work. And that was fascinating. Back then they had like a boardroom and directors dining, and probably like the last day of that placement at the factory, I got to like take food up to the director's dining room, and just weird little punctuations like that made things memorable. But at the Ramada Renaissance, they had a fancy like VIP lounge called the Fairbairns Lounge on the first floor, and I remember taking out a tray of coffee, and I've always been a big lad, so already I think I'd sort of sent the note in, I need a big waistcoat. And this waistcoat was already under tension. The brass buttons were pulling on the front. So I was feeling a little bit self-conscious. It was probably 100% nylon at the time. So, you were sending out radio signals every time you walked across the lobby. And I dropped, as I bent forward, my arm didn't stay straight, and everything on the tray bent forward, and it like shot across the table and smashed. And to this day, I do not know whether I blanked out, but I just remember it looked like a lady coming out of a cupboard with a dustpan and brush, and someone lifting me up and taking me back a house. And I really didn't come front of house again for the rest of that placement. I had a really good time in room service, and that was the end of my time in the VIP lounge. But all those experiences just kept hooking us on the sector. And then I went on to Blackpool and the Fylde College and Lancaster University, still doing hospitality, but wider now, getting into gastronomy, marketing, human resources, and just everything kept underpinning that this was what I wanted to do. This was what I wanted to do. The recession was definitely in full force during my study, and there was a lot of people that needed work, and there were no jobs. Like
Right.
it was a real brutal time. We've probably passed some of that, a couple of times since. But I was meant to go to a hotel in Hull, and by the time my placement came around, it had gone under. So
Oh wow. Right.
so you were going. This is all that external stuff isn't going to hit me, but it stopped us going on my placement, which was a year's placement. So that was a bit traumatic. But they were great at Blackpool and the Fylde College, and they'd found us a placement working at Newmarket Racecourse in a company called Leatherby and Christopher that was eventually taken over by Compass. And I was going to be, like a catering assistant manager at the racecourse, and never been to Newmarket. And I have to say, loads of people listening will know, hospitality you'll travel with hospitality. Either the world will come to you, or you will go wherever you want to go. There's so many opportunities. So off I went from like the Lancashire, the northwest, down to Newmarket, and I was living in digs in Newmarket, and it was glamorous. Like Newmarket racecourse is even more glamorous than it was then. Now, when you go into Newmarket, but it was odd because it was very quiet the whole racecourse on non-race days. So you would do sort of some eventing and that sort of thing, but on a race day, literally, you were shipping in hundreds and hundreds of employees, thousands and thousands of racegoers, and we were looking after everything from the bars and the tea rooms right through to the private boxes. And Prue Leith and Rue Brothers had outlets there as well at the time that Leatherby and Christopher ran, and it was just phenomenal. And from that point on, volume never scared me, because you just got, whether if you're in a marquee or a big
Battered
bar.
for hours.
Yeah. So I totally appreciate when people start in hotels these days, and it's a busy evening in the bar or that sort of thing. You can be overwhelmed when you're still building your confidence. But that event catering just really built us up on the, be scared of nothing. And eventually that's where I sort of started my hospitality career. I went back to where my initial, degree placement was. It was great. I had a whale of a time with Leatherby and Christopher. Yeah.
I mean, I totally hear you on the point about volume and what it actually teaches you when you're just relentlessly busy. Basically, my first job out of uni was, I've spoken about this so many times on the show, was on a cruise ship, but on a reception desk on a cruise ship.
I've seen the photos.
Yeah. Oh, yes, of course. Yes. Yeah, that was only taken probably a year after I chopped my long hair. There we are. But they wouldn't have let me on looking like that, I think. But yeah, we had so many circumstances whereby if things running normally, then it was quite easy to manage. But then as soon as you can't make a port because of the weather, or just something takes you off piste a little bit, then reception desk was crazy. But I really loved it, because I think now I actually put that somebody said to me on the show that being on a reception desk in a volume environment should be national service. And I kind of totally get it, because what you learn about, solving problems, resilience under pressure, you learn so much about yourself in these moments. You learn teamwork in its extreme version. And it's such a wonderful training ground. Similar circumstance, it sounds like, for you at the racecourse when you're on busy days, where you don't really have that much time to think. You've just got to do.
Yeah, absolutely. First, I'd endorse the national service bit. I think anyone that is lucky enough to while studying or having another job and getting some part-time work, especially when you're younger in hospitality, whatever you're going to do, if it's not hospitality, you'll always remember your time in hospitality. And
No doubt.
the skills, the human interaction that you develop will set you up for life. It will make you better at whatever you want to go on to do. But the race course, it was good, but you had to be great at planning, and everything was for a specific window of time. So everything that you bought all the stock and everything in advance, because it was an operation that wasn't open every day. It was for a 1 or 3 day race meeting, and it had to be delivered bespoke. So, if you got it wrong in the planning phase, you were living with that wrong for the 3 days. So
that's
it was
triggering
tough.
me, that.
Yeah. And you were just like really, really coping, because like pre-made sandwiches, and just remember vans of Ginsters pies and pasties being delivered as well. And maybe in all the food and beverage people that remember when you tick the box, and there were a lot of paper forms that you used to have to fax back then. You didn't really have a computer, and you sort of somehow you ticked either a pie rather than a case of pies, and this truck would arrive, and you go, for my delivery, and you go, yeah, there is the pie for your 3 day race meeting, and you're going, just the one, and you go, yeah, you've ordered one pie, and it was meant to be like a van of pies. But there's always another way. I firmly remember we were doing a graduation ball, so a really fancy high end marquee job in Cambridge, and so you've got a lot of people really keen. They've built up to this day. and we were doing, it would have been a nice marquee, cold poached salmon salads, but the hot bit was always new potatoes. And we'd set up this marquee. People were arriving, and there was two really important things. And today it's a great warm day, but one, we had no ice, and there was a pile of graduating students piling in for drinks. And two, we had an oven, we had potatoes, we had water, we had gas, but we had no spanner to attach the gas bottles to the stove. So no ability to cook the hot potatoes. I don't think the students cared that their meal didn't have hot potatoes, but negotiating, warm tonic or warm white wine at the graduation, because you really just couldn't get it. You might get a bag of ice, but and again, we've all done this, gone to the supermarket with a coat over our uniform, pushing a trolley and taking every loaf out of the supermarket or every bag of ice.
Yeah, milk as well.
Yeah, but when you're doing events, if you took every bag out of both supermarkets in the town, it still wouldn't get you anywhere.
Yeah.
So it was just like, right, so we're going to move on with this. We're going to be together for 6 hours. I'm going to get tireder. You're going to get drunker, but you'll be doing it with warm alcohol. How are we going to get around that?
Yeah.
So the whole resilience, no matter how much you plan, there's always going to be a plan B and a plan C and a plan D.
Yeah, but I think this is one of the really special things about this industry, is that these kind of things are inevitable. With the best planning in the world, there's always, as you say, something gets ticked in the wrong way. I mean, God, was there no part of that pie company that said it's a bit weird that they're only asking for a pie? But the thing is about when you've got a team that really works well together, you all kind of just live and die by the stuff that happens, right? And you're experiencing that together. And this, for me, is why I just think this industry is so unbelievably unique and special. And I've spoken to so many different people from other industries. They view their colleagues as exactly that. But most of my best mates come from my time in working in operations and things like that. People that I've not seen in 20 odd years, we just pick up and, crack on as if we've just, experienced the end of the world and the best of the world all in one go.
Yeah, I think it's I was going to say, it's friendship through adversity, but that's probably a bit.
There's some good times too. There's some good times too.
There's absolutely some good times. And I just think it's that elation and satisfaction, whether it's at the end of a shift or something bigger like the end of a 3-day race meeting. The last race goers have gone, and tomorrow you'll be spending 1 or 2 or 3 days clearing everything down. But it's the sort of celebration that you've achieved something. It's gone really well. There might be an after event drink with everyone down the pub afterwards. Yeah, the friends, the colleagues that you make, and then when you are working together, that everyone's got each other's back, and the best teams are looking out for each other. This company, for sure, like the phrase you just wouldn't hear would be "not my job." Sorry, mate, not my job.
Yeah.
And anyone, maybe they've transitioned from another business. If you hear that, you're really evaluating whether they're going to make it or not, because no one should be seeing a colleague, struggling. And if you can dive in, just because your uniform isn't the right uniform for that department, or what can I do for you? How can I support you? And sometimes, someone to celebrate with, someone's shoulder to cry on, and have a bit of reassurance. It's an amazing sector for that. Absolutely amazing.
Yeah, totally. Was this also I assume it must have been the place whereby you went to greet a coach full of team members?
Oh yeah. So I'm still in Newmarket, and on a non-race day, the office would probably have about 10 of us in. And so much so that, say, if it was a meeting, a board meeting, or you might even have a big conference, between the 10 of us, and then you might have some local casuals, 5 or 6 casuals. But on a race day, you did need hundreds and hundreds of people. So the way that, and it probably is still the case in the sector, so coaches would start from as far north as Doncaster, coming south, and at sort of bus stops, they'd be picking up people who had been recruited locally, almost like a friend of a friend of a friend of a friend, because it was good work, interesting work. So everyone, as the bus came south, it would get busier and busier and fuller and fuller. So all these coaches would be coming in. And there was a guy called Dane, and he was working in human resources or personnel back then.
Yeah. Or human remains. That was the other one, wasn't it?
He'd be there with his clipboard and a pen and a lanyard, ticking people off the bus, and then you'd take them, get them uniformed, get them into the departments. And they'd all done it before, or you were bringing a friend for the first time. So again, you'd help each other, and that was the great stuff. But yeah, another big race meeting at Newmarket, and the doors of this bus opened, and you went, and there was, if there was one person, there was just one person, because you see, of course, you could get gazumped. So there was other events on. So we did race meetings, but there could have been tennis, golf, other race courses using other catering providers. So they wouldn't really tell you, and communication was just a lot slower then. So no mobile phones. How weird is that?
Yeah, I know. I remember those days.
And we were phoning people. Generally, the pickup point was not necessarily a bus stop. It was a phone box. So you could phone the phone box and hope somebody would pick up to say, I've got my 20. We're just waiting for the coach. So when I've told that story before, you went, but how did you know you didn't know the coach would be empty? And you went, well, when it left, that was it. Hopefully everyone had got the letter, the posted letter to say, you've got the gig. So turn up at this stop in wherever, Doncaster or wherever it was, and the bus will collect you, and we'll take you home at night. And so just this one occasion, not a one. I think we recruited a bus driver to run a bar. It was that bad.
God, but oh man, it just shows you, like, we really have to kind of just take a moment to acknowledge progress for a second, right? In terms of, because we'd take something like that for granted now. The fact that you would be able to get somebody on the end of a phone. There's probably a system and process in place that would just make sure that when that bus arrives, there's a manifest of people that are going to be on it, and this is their names and all of their details and all of that. I don't know. I'm just kind of hypothesizing, but it's also, it's the same principle. Like, I am so grateful that I don't have to go into the dating game right now, because do you remember back in the day when you'd organise a date and you just had to hope that they turned up?
Yeah.
You had no way of knowing.
There was a lot more
messages.
Trust. I think there was a lot more trust generally. I think, like, come on, we struck a deal, so you're going to show. Yeah.
It's the same principle. I'm basically just now calling hospitality the dating game as well. So there we are.
But, I think someone has beat you to calling it that before.
Yeah, I'm sure you're right. But brilliant. I mean, God, some stories from there then. I mean, mainly stories around disaster, it says. But in the stories of disaster, that's when that's what makes you in the end, I guess. It's very easy to look great when things are going smoothly.
Absolutely. And the trick is looking great when it's an absolute disaster behind the bar wall, or in the stock room or in the kitchen. And I sort of always have mixed feelings, when there's probably a few less of them now, but at one time there was a lot of, fly on the wall documentaries, film crews moving into a hotel, for a week or a fortnight, and they'd sort of track the team or the general manager.
Right.
And I think that's really interesting. I can't always watch them, but for somebody, someone not in the sector. But I do have this thing about, you shouldn't really see the secret sauce. I think we used to describe it as like the legs of the swan. You see the swan, but then the legs are both ugly and moving very fast under the water.
Yeah.
And I just think hospitality at its best is delivering this bit of magic. So as the guest, you're enjoying that restaurant experience, that hotel stay. And as much as possible, deliberately, we should be screening you from how we make that magic happen. But I think the level of social media, just transparency, guests being more nosy and interested about how things happen, there's less of that. And it's maybe frowned upon when you keep things secret. But I'm probably a little bit more in favouring you just enjoy the swan and I'll look after the legs. We shouldn't be sharing that with you. So that is still an art when things are going wrong and the guest doesn't know. I had a group of managers. So I won the Cateys on Monday. Bring that up again. But
did you? I didn't know that.
Have we not talked about that? But it's Friday now, and I've had a couple of sessions this week with managers. They didn't give me the week off. That was a clerical error. And we were talking about the art of, there is an art to walk quickly in a hotel, but never run. because when you run, everyone's getting the sign, whether it's the team or whether it's the guest, there's something wrong. So sometimes you have to get to where you need to be, as a priority. But the
Yeah.
art of walking fast gracefully rather than running like a lunatic,
I'd never thought of that.
across the hotel.
Yeah.
And there's a difference. There's a difference.
Yeah,
So
you can see, like, just from a pure psychological perspective, right? You see some team members running around, then you're like, "What's
yeah,
wrong?
that's
What's
it.
wrong?"
That's it.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
And
never
they
thought
could,
of that.
and they could have just heard that there's an amazing team lunch in the canteen. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
they did. Or one of their
There could be
ex-colleagues
an
is
exciting
just
one.
come in to say hello, and they're about to leave. So yeah,
That's
yeah,
it.
but
But
that's not
you
what the
do
guest
sort of
thinks.
go, yeah, why? Why are they running? So
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Very good. Right, so let's move on. You're how long were you working at the racecourse for?
A couple of years. A couple of years. All that sounds like I was there for years and years, but it was really formative, and
That was just that one Saturday.
it was that one Saturday. I really analysed everything. I
Yeah,
overanalyzed everything, but it was great grounding, and it was everything from those public restaurants and bars to the most ultimate fine dining, and private boxes and the royal boxes. Really, really glamorous.
yeah.
Really glamorous, and from there. I must have liked the glamour really. And I came back to hotels, and from that point, I stayed in hotels. And I worked in a boutique hotel in Grasmere in the Lake District. So just above Grasmere, there's the Swan Hotel on the road there, and it was called Michael's Nook, and it was originally the owner's house, and they turned it into a boutique hotel. And I lived in a house in the grounds. Oh, a shared house. Just let me clarify that. There was a lot of us in this house and a lot of shared bathrooms going on. And again, absolutely amazing experience. Working 6 days back then, so just one day off, living in, and the lakes and Grasmere. And there's been TV programs again about this, but it can be quite remote when you're young and working in hospitality.
I can imagine. Yeah, yeah,
Lot of drink consumed, but
yeah.
amazing and interesting guests. Interesting guests at quite a high end. So only about 18 bedrooms and fine dining restaurant, and a cocoon above Grasmere, and that was a great time. That was a great time. I remember there was an article. I think it was probably Telegraph reviews, hotel reviews, and we had a uniform, but it was quite informal, so casual during the day, and then at night we were all in sort of DJs, and all the girls, they had day dresses and evening dresses, and every year, like, one of the senior managers would go to London and they would choose the dresses for the season, you,
Right.
you know. And in this Telegraph review, it was sort of like, really everything was great. The dinner was great, the atmosphere was great, but they felt like they were at a dinner party where everybody had worn the same dress, and it was quite a comedy statement, because I suppose as someone coming in, you thought everyone looked as a uniform, but because it was a little more relaxed than the uniform, and it was, a dress that anyone could have bought, I suppose, for the girls, and the guys were in their DJs. I suppose we looked like a pile of couples all at this
Yeah.
dinner party every night, and we'd all, like, in some weird way, all chosen to wear the same clothes. So, so it was mad. It was mad. But really great grounding, and we had a couple of Great Danes that were in the hotel with us, Lucifer and Oberon, and
My God, that's a pair of names.
and they were worthy of it. So again, I just think about hospitality today. There was a parrot, there was two Great Danes, and the dogs strode around, and they were amazing, really well natured. But if you're not fond of a dog, a Great Dane's a big
Just
entry
can be
level dog to get used to.
a daunting dog to get the hang of.
Yeah. So as a side job, I was always recruited to keep either of the dogs still while they were having the toes clipped, and you're going, I'm sure this was not, when I did my degree, this was not a module, how to clip dogs' claws, So but another experience, really high end, really intimate service delivery from, like, we had helipad and everything, so super famous
Wow.
people,
Right. Yeah.
right through to, in the winter, it would get snowed in, and we would have like a four-wheel buggy to bring luggage up to the hotel. And sort of in the more of the off season, January, February, you would get, I remember every year, a farming couple, and they were coming away in the winter for their holiday, and they were the only people in the hotel. And rather than running the hotel like normal, we just set up this table for two in front of the open fire in the drawing room, and we'd just have dinner together, and we'd wait on them for dinner. And it was a really great way to see you've got a product, but you can personalize it and shrink it down or grow it depending on who the guests are, rather than it being ultra formulaic and it becoming a bit scripted and boring. And and there's strength in that in some some products, but to work for a product that we sort of understand who's in house and what they want, and you have the freedom to sort of curate something special for them. That's what I learned there. If you go, what did you learn from every experience that you've had? And it was that just bespoking of a really high end product, hospitality product. And probably that's where I got the difference between like hospitality and service. When you know each other's name and you've got that level of rapport between the guests and the people serving them. That's something really special, rather than just something more transactional. And again, I carried on being hooked. Everything that I've done has never really shook my want to be in hospitality.
Yeah, that's brilliant. And how old would you have been at this point?
About 23, 22.
Okay, so still quite young, I suppose, but increasing responsibility coming your way as well in this time. This is the other thing that I don't think we talk about this enough. Maybe we do, just not in the rooms that I'm in. But it is really about the level of responsibility you can get in this industry at a very, very young age. Like I look back at my time. I was managing a team of about 200 people when I was 22 years old. And I was like, I look back on that now and go, what the hell were they thinking? Would I give myself that level of responsibility looking back to the kid that I was back then? I don't know if I would, but but nevertheless, you kind of you're put into situations, if you want them, in hospitality whereby you're asked to step up, and it can be the absolute making of you as a human being, I think.
Yeah, it's one of those bits of magic of hospitality. I think we're lucky in some ways. Like some roles, absolutely, you need the serious qualifications. You'd be foolish to tackle a role without, the qualifications. But things like leading a team, I can totally see in some sectors, it's almost like you have to be this age or this experienced. But sometimes it's by sheer need. But and other times it's, I think you've got it. Age irrelevant. I think you've got it. On a quiet shift, give this a go. Have a see how you get on. And I do think people in hospitality, and I'm probably this person, so I'll talk for myself. I'll stop generalizing. It's a little bit more of a let's give it a go, and then tomorrow you get another chance to correct it, and you can hone it, and then you can correct it, and you can hone it. Where in other sectors, you've got to get it right first time. So there's a load of planning. And for a character like myself, almost that planning and piloting and planning, it can take all the energy out of something. So by the time you launch it, you're sort of so over it. Everyone else is excited, but you're so over it. So it's almost like I like to do things. And all my team would go, yeah, of course he does. He absolutely kills us with it. But have a good idea and rough sketch it out, rough pilot it, but then put it into the marketplace and see if it's actually going to go anywhere, and then modify it. I think there's lots of people in hospitality that it's a good job we're not running something like a nuclear power station, because let's press that big green button. Let's see what
does that do.
What does that do? Because those people, we're really lucky they get it right first time. And we're really pleased about that. But the experimenting and the managed risk taking in hospitality, and the gambles on people, I think you've got what it'll take. Prove me right. That early responsibility, it's amazing. It's just the best.
Agreed, 100%. Yeah. So let's advance through. What happened next?
So what happened next? I worked for an English, a British legendary hotel group called Jarvis Hotels.
Oh God, yeah, I remember them.
And I worked for some. It was the first time that so Grasmere and Michael's Nut was privately owned, but this was a group. So you had that corporate element, and it had a logo, and there was you could go around the country and you'd see hotels with the same logo on that you had. So the MD, I suppose at the time, the CEO, John Jarvis, and I worked in a couple of businesses there, and I met some amazing people. So again, the hotel's still there. The Peacock in Roseley on the A6 between Matlock and Bakewell. I worked there, another sort of restaurant with rooms type operation. And that was interesting because there wasn't really another hotel. There was a hotel in the group that was like it. There was a similar one, the Bear at Hungerford, but the Peacock was quite unique in the group. And it was, I suppose, it was how the group had just developed over time. So normally you'd have hotels like the tower that is the Piccadilly in Manchester. You know that sort of hotel that was part of the Jarvis group at the time. So we had a sort of a different guest type. What was a bit annoying is if there was ever a complaint, you could sort of pick the hotel where you'd go and stay at as the treat and part of the company trying to make the complaint better. And we got a lot of people picking the Peacock to come for their, complaint resolution stay. So we became honed at wooing guests. But again, it was great for early responsibility, being the DGM at the hotel under a great GM, and way back then, a female GM. So a really strong female GM, and they were good times. Quirky things as well. So it's on the river, so you'd have people coming fly fishing and shooting. So you got a lot of country sports and that sort of thing. And that's not me. I'm from the city, so you're going, oh wow, this is like really interesting. People coming to buy fly fishing river tickets, and that sort of thing. And from there, I then moved to Newcastle Gateshead to be the deputy manager in probably what, if you thought about a normal corporate hotel in the Jarvis Group, and still all over the UK at the minute. So much bigger corporate and leisure market mix, a restaurant, a bar, M&E, and a ballroom and meeting rooms. So it was sort of getting into the big time now, I suppose. So there was the deputies at the time. You could either be in the structure, you had a general manager, and then it was a sales and spend manager or a quality and service manager. And in big hotels, you'd have both. But I must like a tag, because I was the deputy, but I was a quality and service manager, and I really loved that title, and I really loved what it meant. So you were looking after that. You were implementing the corporate standards. So whether it was the china you needed, or how you'd serve a drink, or how you'd serve food, service a bedroom, and while you'd be signing off batches of POs, and again, just to give everyone like a flashback, you'd approve invoices. You'd have to write an A4 sheet of a purchase order, a batch cover to get it paid, and then you'd have to put all these together in an elastic band, put them in like an A3 envelope, and send them to High Wycombe, to the head office, to be processed, all by post. And you were sort of going, I hope that envelope gets there,
Yeah.
There was a whiff of computers around, but they were only in your hotel. They weren't connected to the internet or anything. So you could check something on a computer, but there was still loads of manual work. And that was great as a deputy, and payroll and that sort of thing. But it was always the quality and service bit that I liked. And there is a lady who lots of people will know, who was head of human resources for Jarvis, called Janet Gray. And Janet Gray had a human resources team and an L&D team. And two things outside my day job. I always inducted the new hires to the hotel. And I also did, so Newcastle Gateshead, so in the north of the country, north of England. But if the team were coming up to do a careers fair, sort of in Scotland somewhere, I was lucky they would stop off, and I could go and help them for a day on the Jarvis career stand. And no one will believe me, and people that know me will be laughing heartily at this. I was a shy person once.
No.
Exactly. Yes, it's the disbelief. I was a shy person. I was a shy person doing well in hospitality, so that's reassuring. There is a place for everybody, but I was not the person I am now. But on a careers stand, I could wax lyrical about the brand and the career opportunities, and giving out the old career leaflet, and post as your CV if you're interested, and we'll post. So I don't know how any of us got a job, but we didn't get that job very fast. But so it was me just helping HR and L&D, and I really liked it. And then Jarvis, I always felt they were at the cutting edge of stuff, and they decided that towards the end of my time with them, and it wasn't because of this, they were going to invest. I think they had about 38 hotels across the country. They were going to invest in every hotel would get a desktop PC, massive monitor, CPU unit, and a keyboard and a mouse. And a mouse was, it was all like F keys. A mouse was really unusual. And what it was is you were going to get this computer, and they'd put online training onto a CD-ROM. And this was sending a rocket to the moon
Cutting
territory.
edge.
So absolutely cutting edge. And they
Yeah.
had all these modules on this CD-ROM. The idea was that you would take this computer back, set it up, and as part of induction, and to make induction consistent, really, which is the desire, people will be able to come and do their induction, clicking on these modules and answering the questions on this CD-ROM. And I just thought that was amazing. And I'm going to disclose a secret now. We had to go to the Jarvis Hotel at Heathrow for the training because, of course, you had to learn, one, what a computer was, what a CD-ROM was, and then we got onto how to manage the training. And super excited. I had come down from Newcastle, and it was an overnight, and I was having a shower. And I think I was just enjoying I'm in a hotel room and I'm a guest. And so anyway, I had this shower on full blast, and the bathroom door opened and the fire alarm went off. So I'm going, that's really inconvenient. And so I'm getting dressed. And at the time, a lot of our hotels had a direct line. So when the fire alarm went off, it went to the fire brigade. So it's a bit different these days, but literally the fire brigade came out if that alarm triggered. So I'm in the car park wet with everybody else. They let us in because, of course, the fire alarm was just someone setting off a smoke detector with a hot shower. So I'm now late for this course. And when I get there, there's like 4 firemen staring up at the sensor in my room, flashing red, pointing at it, and now pointing at me when I came in the room. And I think to this day, I never disclosed it was my room. I got to that course going, that's really bad, isn't it? That fire alarm. We've lost half an hour of this course now because we had to start late. And it was me with the shower in, and staying anywhere around Heathrow, actually, gives me a little bit of the fear.
Flashback. Yeah.
To this day, when either on my own or with my partner when we're away, I will always be shouting about shutting the door when you're in the shower. It's an absolute fear. But anyway, I love the CD-ROM stuff.
5-star hospitality means having the right people in the right place at the right time, and that's exactly where RotaCloud can help. RotaCloud is the online platform that makes planning rotas, recording attendance, and managing annual leave easy. Its simple, drag-and-drop interface lets you create and share rotas with your team in minutes, while our built-in budgeting tools mean you'll know exactly how much you're spending on staffing before sending the rota out. RotaCloud also makes life easier for your staff, allowing them to check their rotas, request time off, and pick up extra shifts, all through the RotaCloud mobile app. Start your 30-day free trial today by visiting rotacloud.com/Phil and find out how much easier managing your team can be.
I can just imagine you in the car park of that hotel as everybody out and just looking around going like, who would do that? Who would do that?
And that was genuine at the time because I really wasn't sure it was me until I found the fire brigade in my bedroom, afterwards. But yeah, so that was a catalyst moment for me with the CD-ROM at Jarvis. So between the experiences I had and this sort of computer learning, and everything was quite static in the company. So I thought, I think I might want to get into training. But luckily, I suppose, for the company, you could see that everyone in that function, and it would have been a small function in HR, were really happy in their roles. They were going nowhere. So it was that sort of dead man's shoes scenario. I'm in hotel operations, but I'd like to make a move to training. And there just wasn't that opportunity. So I started to look around for a role. And this is a nice sort of circle back. I was an avid reader of the Caterer and Hotel Keeper magazine every week. Wherever I lived, I was investing in my future, and I was on the subscription list, and it came either to the newsagent, you had to go and pick it up yourself, or eventually it started coming through the front door. They had
This
it
is
reserved.
like a trip down memory lane for me. This.
You're going, how old? When they'd written in the top corner your house number in pencil, because that was like your magazine. And the Caterer, it was amazing because if it was a job worth having, it was at the back of the Caterer. And the Caterer, I remember probably like the last published Caterer magazine a few years ago. It was as thin. And it used to be like a book, the Caterer. It was about 2/3 jobs, stunning articles, and photography, but 2/3 jobs. And there was this job advert for a company called Jury's Doyle Hotels. And it was a half long page. And it was a picture of a rubber plant, basically, or a climbing plant going up the page. And it said, "Come grow with us." And on each leaf of the plant, it was sort of taken out a book page. So it was like, we're looking for chefs, and we're looking for a front office manager, and we're looking for a training officer. And I was like, ooh, training officer. So in the back of that magazine, I applied for 2 jobs. I applied for the training officer at Jury's Doyle Hotels, and I also applied for something that was new in the sector, and everyone was getting excited about, called Springboard. And they were looking for because they used to have shop fronts then, so they were looking for a shop front manager, as they would call it, for Manchester and the Northwest for Springboard, and I applied for both. And I got the job with Jury's Inn and Jury's Doyle Hotels. Funnily enough, a few years later, somebody else I met, who is a really amazing colleague now, they applied for the same 2 jobs, and they got the Springboard job.
Oh wow!
And we didn't know each other until we met later on. And hospitality, you're only a couple of people removed from everybody, I think.
Yeah.
So that got me into. That was the move to the dark side, maybe all the operators are thinking, from operations to human resources, and really in this specialist role of training officer. But it was all about skills. So it was all about the skills of hospitality, whether it was in food, beverage, front office, housekeeping, M&E. And you just went around the place. I don't know that the job is ever the best focused job. I think the people who should be doing the training and the coaching are your supervisors and your line managers, because it's their department, and that the training and the coaching can help form a team, because it's great communication and you're all learning and developing together. But some companies, and it definitely gave me the job, you have the training officer and they'll come in for the day and they'll show you how to do something better than you could do at the start of the day. And I loved it. And I loved it, and I loved the travel and going into the hotels and working with teams. And you sort of felt you were never quite done, and you never saw the fruits of your labour. But I had 2 amazing managers. So in the UK, Stephen Seymour, and then the head of human resources, Jennifer Lee. And they amazing coaches and mentors. And actually, they just took the risk, because I'm the training officer. But within a year, I was writing training resources and moving away from the actual on-the-job training to delivering short courses. And I think they just kept stretching us, and probably waiting for me to snap to see, how much more has this guy got. But I just loved it. And there was a bit of a swap then, to more off-job, experiential and classroom learning from the on-the-job sort of skills coaching. And that was the shift, really. So always still passionate about hospitality. If I've ever worked in an office, and that's a rare thing, the office has always been that windowless room that no one could make into a bedroom, because anything with a nice view is a bedroom. It's never an office. So you were always embedded in a business. I think I feel sorry for people that have to work at a head office of any organisation if it takes you away from the organisation. So you've got to remember, who's making the revenue, who's doing the work, and who you're supporting, rather than being separate. So as a company culture, majority of our offices have always been in a hotel operation. So it just kept you close, and you get your best ideas. And that was the move then into training that became learning and development, and that was the big switch from ops to training. Yeah.
Right. And it is almost kind of one of those, and the rest is history, more or less.
Yeah. And the world kept changing, and everyone's needs keep changing, and your scope keeps growing, and
the brand change as well.
Yeah. And that's a sector thing, isn't it? There's always lots of acquisitions and brand changes and tweaks and that sort of thing, and it can be a scary time for people. And it's great because you can empathise, because I've lived through that. So when we make an acquisition, that really we've bought the business asset, but you've got to remember the people bit. It's almost like the people are the last to know when an owner has sold a hotel, and as quick as you can convince them that, despite they didn't have a vote in the choice and the sale, that everything will be all right. And whether you know the hotel company or you don't know, and there'll be pros and cons, but trying to convince everyone that they're with a good owner and in a good place. You know, yeah.
I think there's still some work to be done there in certain factions of the industry. I remember being out for dinner with somebody. I won't name them. I won't name the brand that they were associated with, but he was a general manager within this group, and he literally got a text message from one of his team members or something like that. What's this about the hotel sale? And there had been a press release about that that he wasn't aware of, and so basically he had to cancel the rest of dinner to go and deal with the fallout of this thing. And I think we could just get past a lot of that stuff with just being transparent about what's really going on. I think a lot of people forgive transparency more than we think they do.
Yeah, I think it's a misunderstanding of the speed of social media and social communication, and then a naivety that anybody at any point in time. Don't we all know that people in hospitality love gossip? They love sharing what they know. We're terribly indiscreet sometimes. So, you are a bold person trying to keep something secret from people in hospitality. And I think, as soon as you can, there'll be people in corporate offices going, non-disclosure agreements. But there is quite a wide window of time when that sale is completed. And it's happening, but we're still not telling anybody.
Yeah.
And it's very hard to peel that back if you've heard incorrectly. And definitely in the last few acquisitions we've done, it's really important to start planning who tells who first. And you really should, the people who have been sold, which sounds terrible, should hear first from their current owner rather than from a friend in the company that's made the acquisition. The timing and the order really lay the foundation for the relationship going forward with with the team and the business that you've bought. So I think it's still clunky and clumsy, and no matter how good the future will be, it's got it's putting that, and I'm sure we don't get it right for everybody all the time, but I know there's loads of effort from the HR colleagues and finance colleagues to try and get that right, because you're right, it's just dreadful to hear something by text, or by WhatsApp, or by company announcement through the portal.
Yeah.
Even if you can't be all in a room, and they're terrible emails to get. Everybody needs to come to the meeting room at 3:00, and you sort of know it isn't to get a prize. It isn't to get a prize. But with all the technology that there is today, that CEO, that general manager, if they can't be face to face, showing up on Teams so you can see the whites of my eyes when I'm telling you a bit of news. And if it's a sale, for some people it's good, for some people it's bad, but not hiding behind text, not hiding behind a letter. There's a way that you can front up, and that's just part of the job, and you've got to do that today, especially at that level as well. The timing and how you do it means so much. It means so much.
And as you say, I mean, they were just, as a species, we're phenomenal at filling in our own blanks if we don't know the full story.
Yeah.
And that's just an inevitable part of being human, I guess.
But
there's a story here that I would love to delve into, which is to do with the head of a mouse falling off. I mean, it's not an actual mouse. Let's just get that straight. But yes, tell us about. Mouse heads.
The mouse. Well, the story is absolutely hilarious, so I won't spoil it. But it gives me a great opportunity to say the reason we had a mouse on a stage and its head fell off. Within our culture in Leonardo hotels, we work really hard, but reward is really important as well. And the pinnacle of that reward, every year, we have a exceptional employee awards event. So other organisations would do something similar. I will stick my neck out and say, we do an exceptional one. We work with great partners to make sure that the event that the winning team members attend does not fall short of the events, because they see a load of events. And we would not want them to go, Leonardo employee awards. This is a bit patchy, because and I've worked and run so many lovely events for other people, so you're constantly being assessed. And we run a really great event, as I said, with pulling in lots of help, and I'm lucky enough to co-host that with colleagues. So it's a proper. I'm there in a DJ, and I'm known for the colours of my velvet DJ jackets. So that's of course my shyness coming out again.
Oh, of course, yeah. That just can't get away from that shyness. It's everywhere, isn't it? Riddled through your everything that you do.
So that's great that we can do that, and everyone in the room has won. So every hotel sends their exceptional employee of the year forward, and along with representatives from office teams, and they submit a film and a portfolio, and we get a great mix of judges from within the company. And what I find really interesting as well, we get also guests involved and corporate partners involved, and they all judge who out of probably about 60 or more nominees who will be the overall exceptional employee. And that's announced during the evening. So there's lots of awards being given out, and then we have this overall winner that has been selected from peers, from managers, from clients, and from guests. And up until a few years ago, and it might have been the end of the mouse that was the nail in the coffin of this, halfway through the awards, we did our own version of The Masked Singer. So very much our own version. And again, we went all out. We sort of took inspiration from the TV program, and we got some professional costumes. We hired professional costumes. So if you were putting yourself up to be the Masked Singer, tell us what sort of costume you need and that sort of thing. So each employee would go on the stage, and we always had mic issues because I don't know, somebody out there will have done this, but trying to sing a song through like a massive paper mache head or something with a microphone, that poor sound guy is freaking out at the side of the stage trying to get the audio right. So the whole idea of the Masked Singer is everyone's going to try and vote and guess who the person behind the mask is before the big reveal. And one of our very brave assistant group HR managers was one of the singers this particular year. And I think between the energy of the singing and, I suspect, the laughter from inside this mouse costume, just at a critical point of voting, the head started wobbling. And I'm looking at this from the side of the stage, and the head now is tipping off. And it would be the end of the surprise if the head had fallen off. So the poor mouse, the head's coming off. They dive behind one of the podiums that we've been announcing winners from to try and cover themselves. And you just saw this head rolling off the stage, So it was saved. It was saved. My colleague at the time, Lauren, was quickly stuffing this head back on the mouse. But it was just another day in Leonardo Awards evening life. Yeah, amazing. But the cheers and the laughter and the energy, I find even when it's going wrong for us, so maybe that adversity thing coming back, the audience, they really don't know what's meant to happen. So we know what we plan to happen. So just keep going. Don't stop and tell them that it's gone wrong. Just keep going. But yeah, the mouse, the head, the assistant group HR manager, it was another night to remember. Yeah, for sure.
Well, and these are the things that become part of the event themselves, right? Even though with the best planning in the world, stuff like that just happens, but they then become wonderful memories. And that somebody once told me that on my wedding day as well, is that no matter, because we planned that day within an inch of its life. And of course, the first thing that happens is that the string quartet that were to play my soon-to-be wife up the aisle opened with the wrong song that we hadn't selected. They just went with the old classic wedding march or whatever it is. And I remember turning to my brother and going, "They're playing the wrong song." And he just turned to me and he went, "Does it really matter?" And I remember thinking, "Nope, you're right. It doesn't. It's what can we do about it? I'm not going to go stop. And you just go with the flow, and then it becomes a memory in itself that you can look back on with a laugh and a giggle. And it's the same principle with stuff like that happens in hospitality all the time.
Yeah, well, you have a story to tell. So when you let something play out, you're hating it maybe at the time and you're a bit disappointed, but you'll have another story to tell people. But it is that ability, just to roll with things and keep the show on the road, quite literally in our case on that evening every year. Well, a very good night.
You're selling the virtues of being a Leonardo Hotels employee to me for sure. That's my kind of gig, and I think even for yourself as well with winning the award earlier in the week. Did we tell anybody about that? I don't know if did we cover that?
We haven't covered that yet. We haven't
No,
covered that.
no. But to take this moment out of what is essentially everybody's busy and everybody is cracking on and doing the best that they can, to take these moments out to just remind ourselves that there's some bloody good work going on all around us, right under our noses. This is an industry that is high on care. I think if hospitality was to write its values as a brand, I would suggest that care would be right up the top of that. And if that's not in your psyche as a value, then I'd question whether you should be in the industry in the first place.
Yeah.
But that comes through everything that we do as an industry, and certainly what you've just described there in terms of your career so far as well, just getting started, Ed, is the level of care and attention to everything that you do reaps its rewards, and it's important that we take a moment to kind of just remember that there's a lot of really cracking people around us in this industry.
There is. It's thinking back to Monday night,
Monday night,
high hundreds of people again. Great people in the room who are representing teams of great people not in the room, and the whole hospitality thing, it just shouldn't be overlooked, and I think it is, and terribly disregarded sometimes. Not always meaning to, but people not in the sector. If you think that we have about 5,500 employees, and if I was talking to a manager, if you've got a team of 20 people, the thing is, you've just not got a team. You have 20 individuals. And for you to succeed, you need to know what each of those 20 people, what makes them buzz, what upsets them, what they're good at, what they could be better at. And that's just the team. You've then got, and we operate at a large scale. So our hotels are generally hundreds of bedrooms big. You've got all these, I'm going to call a guest, a random situation now, but you've got hundreds of people that the only thing you've got in common is they've booked in the hotel that you work at. So, and again, they're all individuals as well. So the complexity of human relationships, the personal needs, and these days, the high demand of those personal needs, so everyone really not taking any prisoners when they're staying away on business or leisure. To succeed in hospitality, the resilience, tenacity, the psychological skills, the behavioural skills that you have to develop to more than just survive the shift, to have an absolute blast on the shift and enjoy working with your colleagues and meeting a pile of new people that are the guests. It's really complex, and it's a real skill. And you can see why sometimes people from outside the sector, and maybe they're blessed with a little bit of a windfall and they open a restaurant or a bar or a hotel, because the idea of it is glamorous and looks easy.
It's romantic.
But the reality, it absolutely is. And one day maybe, I'll be sat up at a bar counter going, this has been my job aspiration, to sit at the bar all day, but that's definitely not anytime soon. But and the business doesn't do well, or sadly it fails, and they're a bit surprised at the why. And it's just, and it's sometimes they've got the money, but not the skill, because it really is a skill. It's a behaviour to do something passionately, and it's the passionate businesses that will survive. And also these days, you've got to be able to flex and pivot and constantly reinvent yourself, because people get tired of things and times change. But it's the best place to be. Yeah, you probably should be interviewing someone that doesn't really like hospitality, because I'll keep telling you the same thing.
No.
It really is just the best place.
On the contrary, you're right on message for the show. Right on message. That's exactly why we're here, is to fill in other people's blanks of what they think this industry is. And I think a lot of the time, as you quite rightly say, I think those who are not in the know really don't know. And they just make up their own mind as to what it must be like. And of course, these silly things that people have in their mind about what this industry is are then probably backed up with the only headlines that ever make national press around the negative stuff that happens. We never seem to be able to control the narrative around all of the other wonderful things that are happening every single day. And that's why this show exists, is to kind of just say to the world that, what you might have heard is not true. And yes, there are companies out there who could do better. And yes, there are people out there who are doing things in not a particularly great way. But that is not that is the same in every single sector that exists. That's not a hospitality problem. and yet we get
Yeah.
marked with that. This is me fighting back and getting on my high horse now.
Yeah, and we do it to ourselves, like rolling back again. When I started out, everyone you knew who wasn't working in hospitality worked Monday to Friday. Shops didn't open on Sundays, so if you worked in retail, you definitely got Sunday off. Because you couldn't buy anything on a Sunday. I remember as a duty manager, getting up and BBC Breakfast at the time. I forget who was hosting it, but they'd always be going, "It's Friday, looking forward to the weekend," and it used to really annoy me because you'd be sort of going, "And the relevance of that to me is what?" Because it was only 5 days in 7, really. So what? It's Saturday tomorrow, and
yes, I'll be serving you tomorrow.
Correct. And, so most people had very regular jobs. But if you look now, even physical stores are nearly open 24/7. So from a sector that was very, oh, what a shame, you can't come to this event because you work in a hotel or a restaurant or a bar and you've got a shift. Between whether it's call centres, fulfillment centres, retail, most jobs have some sort of cover 24/7 now. So what used to make us an outlier, everyone else has just caught up to the 24/7 offering that we had. That there's probably more jobs than there are people able to take the jobs in the UK now, which is a whole other probably podcast. So you're lucky if you've got a department or a business that is fully staffed all the time.
Yeah.
Yet in all sectors, yet we still go on about the shortage of team members. And it's almost like we do just either convince ourselves or in the hearing of someone out of the sector, talk down the sector, because you're going, well, care, nursing, medical, retail, they all have people shortages. And then on top of that, you layer on the top of skills. So I can find somebody, I think they've got something, but I now need to invest in their skills, knowledge and behavior because they're not the done deal. It's rare if you can find someone that's moving from a similar job. Good businesses will go and find people that are returning to work after a break. That they've had care responsibilities, they've had children, they've been long-term unemployed, and they develop that skill, knowledge, and behaviour in them, and they give them a break. But there's a lot of people out there that don't want to work or can't work, and it makes business tough. But it's not just hospitality.
Yeah.
But we still go on about it as if it's just us that have those issues.
No, indeed.
People are expensive, and we have a lot of people to make the hospitality work, and that can be a business challenge to balance the books with the payroll and the additional costs of payroll. But yeah, we can talk ourselves down, and actually, it's just a very complex and challenging business environment. But hospitality is a great place to be. When you're in it.
Yeah. No doubt. At least you can have fun while you're figuring out the complexities of it all.
Absolutely. If you're in manufacturing, you're making something, hopefully with pride, but you'll never see somebody use that. When I'm going to make a cocktail, I'm going to service a bedroom, and I can see the person who is going to take the product that I've created for them or receive the service that I am delivering to them. So you're just getting. You can see you're making them happy. It's instant gratification, and reinforcement of the job that hopefully you enjoy doing. We're lucky on so many different levels compared to other sectors.
Yeah. No doubt. And there's science behind that as well. Like to be able to see somebody have joy in a moment. Actually, there is science that imparts joy into you. It releases serotonin, I think, within your own brain, and so there's this. You basically can put yourself into a position in this job whereby you are just giving and receiving joy the whole time. And I know that sounds very whimsical,
Correct.
but I stand by the science behind it. It's from Simon Sinek, so it must be true.
It must.
So but look, I think you're a case in point, Ed. To be honest, what a cracking career you've had so far. I mean, you've kind of cut your teeth within the world of operations. You've taken the extreme learning, as you've very nicely highlighted to us in some instances as well. But you're now able to apply that into an area that is under talked about. I think maybe it's not internally, but I think a lot of the time we don't realize just what a massive impact learning and development can have on a business. in terms of its ability to engage your workforce and really keep them at the table in terms of, if you can showcase to somebody that there's a route to where you want to go with us, and while you're here, we're going to respect you and nurture you and give you everything that you need and keep you safe, then, that's half the battle to being a human-centric business.
Yeah, it is. And that whole philosophy shouldn't sit within, whether it's a physical office or a virtual office of HR or L&D. The more that you share that, and we have some great managers, and the best work that me and my team can do is support the managers and the supervisors and even the frontline team, to be able to train and coach and support others. A good piece of learning, it's like another language. I only speak English, I'm not bilingual or anything. And some people would say I'm only just doing that. But
I can't talk.
If you can share the ability to pass on something that you've got to somebody else, show them the right standard to do it in a really engaging way, and that's happening surely now somewhere in one of our hotels, the ability to pass that on, that is great for company culture and people wanting to stay in the job. And having a manager who talks in a way that you feel that they know you and they can see you in the future of their department or in the company's organization, painting that picture of something really interesting in the future, especially when there's other things you can do in hospitality. Like there's so many choices. And for years, I used to have a little bit of a 2-year itch, especially when you're doing, like part-time work. So it's almost like, people will stay if they feel that you can see them in the future. My current manager, Julianne, did a piece of research for her master's, and it was all around, and I was going, oh, please don't do it because this could impact my job. But it was research on does L&D reduce turnover? It's like a classic, statement that people research, and it was really interesting that actually the answer was no. And I was like, brilliant, I'm out of a job. Like, this is great, and they've actually proved that it has no impact on retention. But what it does do, and this is a smart bit, really good career paths and really good L&D stops you looking in the first place. Because the problem with hospitality is there's such great stuff out there. So if you look, you will find something. And if there's anything about you, when you apply, you'll be snapped up. So in that environment, you want to make sure that your team that you're leading is super engaged, super passionate, so that you retain them as long as you can retain them. So that all the time and effort and passion that you've put into them, you don't train them to leave. You are training them and developing them to stay. And you get the fruit. Your job becomes a little bit easier maybe, and you can focus on other things as that leader, because the team, and no one can see because it's a podcast, but I'm I'm trying to touch my forehead or something made of wood in this bedroom I feel so lucky with my team that I've got a team of people that they are really good at what they do, and they know what I want and to what standard, and hopefully because I've trained and coached them, that I can focus on other things. I still love delivering and facilitating training. I've never stopped that, no matter what my role was. But if you are that leader that has managed to retain your team, and I've been in this role for 13 years, as I was saying, but so my team are L&D professionals in hospitality, but the service there is 8 years, 7 years, 2 years with one of our apprentices, and we have a new hire as well, Kira, who's been with us 6 months or so now. But I've retained my team, and I'm really sure that it is because you paint a picture and they can see themselves in it, and they're not nervous about that, because when they need the support, or even before they need the support and that development, you're putting that in place as a leader. And that's how you keep people in hospitality, rather than them being distracted and seeing the choice out there. Because there's just so many apps and jobs boards that job board doesn't know if you're happy or not. So they're going to keep pushing out opportunities.
Yeah.
So you want people to either not look and sort of delete the message, or look and go, actually, I'm really still being stretched and challenged in my current role, so I don't need to go and look for something else. That's the nub of what everyone needs to do, I think.
Yeah.
or what I know I need to do.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I would suggest it's working. So yeah, I think the reputation of your brand is on the up and up. I think the reputation of you has been strong and solid for a very, very long time. As long as I think I saw you speaking at an event, like 15 years ago, something like that. And it
That's probably when I was working for myself and had to make the real money,
Right.
else I wasn't eating this month,
Yeah, and you're probably still talking about posting applications in and stuff like that as well.
Yeah.
But
having a really nice cardboard folder for your CV,
yeah, God.
and a really nice quality envelope.
Just people just don't know they were born today, honestly. But no, look, I massively appreciate you coming on the show and sharing your story, as well as some of the knowledge that you clearly have. Wasn't as long as 4 hours in the end. We've done not bad though, mind.
Not bad. All I'm going to say is good luck with the editing. Yeah.
But no, I wish you guys continued success. It's lovely to see. It's certainly from the outside looking in, it looks as a brand you're absolutely flourishing. Long may that continue.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, and thanks for the opportunity. It's been really great to catch up, and after a while of planning, actually, getting this together and having the conversation. So yeah, thanks.
Yeah, bless you. Yeah, maybe we'll get around to talking about the Cateys at some point. But no. Nice one. Take care, Ed.
Thanks very much. Thank you.
Cheers. And there we have it. A total joy to spend some time with Ed, and I think we can all agree a fabulous journey so far with more than his fair share of superb stories. It wasn't quite 6 hours in the end, but I am so grateful for his time. We will of course be back next week with another awesome journey from hospitality, so have yourselves a cracking week, and I'll see you then.